Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode number 203. Today is September 12th. My name is Craig Perales, and joining me, as always, Mandrew of Good Montemare.
Yo.
Just the yos today?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little exhausted from this week. I just feel like it's been so much going on that I cannot wait for this weekend so I can just sit around and kind of do nothing.
Did you ever play with yo-yos as a kid?
Dude, I remember thinking they're like the coolest thing, and I remember...
At one time, they were the coolest thing.
I remember, too, they had like... And it's weird to think that it would be a thing, but they had like a guy come to like our school who was like a professional yo-yoer and do all kinds of cool stuff, and it was like a cool show, and then they like sold yo-yos like afterwards or whatever. I remember everyone buying yo-yos. I'm like, that's weird to think of like a traveling yo-yo salesman.
I remember because I think Dunkin' yo-yos were the shit. I remember that being like the brand. And then I remember it was cool when you had the ones that you could see inside of it, and they would like glow in the dark ones. But I could never get it past, like, I could play with one for a bit and maybe walk the dog or something, but like mine always tangled up. Like, I don't think I've ever had a yo-yo.
It's just too much work, yeah.
It was just a lot of nonsense for that little piece of fucking yarn wrapped around your finger. And every time you say that, I always think of fucking, it jumps in my head. Yo. So, welcome one and all, guys. Again, back to episode 203. If you're joining us on YouTube, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. If you guys are interested in following us on our social media, you can. Our Linktree link is in the description. You can follow us there. And if you guys are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, you can find us on your podcast platform of choice. So
literally take 2 seconds out of your time.
Hey, pause it right now.
And just drop like a little like, because it helps us like infinitely, and it takes like 2 seconds.
Dude, you were about to get stunned a second ago. I was ready to fucking drop you the bomber there. So guys, before we get into our main stories, Andrew and I like to do, what are you up to? We take a second, talk about anything we've been playing, anything we've been watching before we jump into our main stories. So Andrew, my man, what have you been up to?
I haven't really been watching too much. I've kind of been grinding out games. So I did finish Star Wars, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I just started Mafia 3, and I think so far maybe it might be my least favorite, because I guess, the reason I like play Mafia is because it has to do with the Mafia, and this is more like you're kind of taking down the Mafia and maybe working adjacent versus being with them and like the whole family thing. But I think what's more annoying, we were kind of talking about it a little bit, is I liked the beginning, and I'm liking it so far, but there's certain points where it'll be like modern day, and they're talking about your guy. So, I knew Lincoln, I was a part of his group, or, when Lincoln killed this guy or whatever, I remember it causing a ruckus around the Hollow and this and that. So it's like a documentary, which is cool, but I feel like they're using that too much. That would have been a super dope thing for maybe like the first hour, but I'm a few hours in, and it's almost like I'll do a mission, and then it will do that, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm watching someone retelling what I just did, and that's infinitely more annoying.
Oh, I don't like any of that.
But I can get by. I think the other really annoying thing about this game that I just can't stand, that the other ones let me do, is because, again, you're talking to like a lot of people, sometimes people that don't matter, or I'm reading it, I'm done reading it before they're talking, is you cannot skip the dialogue. For this being the third game, you could do that in the other two. Skip the dialogue, so that way it'll just get to the next part and you do whatever, you're not missing out on anything. You cannot do that, and it's so annoying.
But that's definitive editions, though, so they made those after the third one. I wonder if the original two didn't have it either, though, like in the base original form, because I hate when games can't do that.
I just figured if you were is 3 not that? So is 3 just 3?
Yeah, so it was 1, 2, 3, and then after 3 they made because the number one used parts of the engine from number 3. So both of those games are after 3 when they were made. So those could be quality of life things that they added of skipping dialogue. So
I guess so too. Well, 2 had it, and 2 felt like it was worse to play than 1.
The one. Or the what are we playing? The remasters.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I thought they'd done something in 3, but God forbid them put a little bit of work in. I don't think it would have been that hard for them just to go through and put the skip button in. But other than that, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Nice. As far as what I've been watching, I just went and saw BeetleJuice, or aptly named Beetlejuice 2. Saw it out at the Riverside. It was actually a nice little full crowded theater. The reason, dude, it takes me back. The reason I hate going to movies at night is because I hate packed theaters.
Yeah.
And me and Sam went, and she went to go get a soda, and this bigger guy went and sat next to where her seat was, and I was gonna switch spots with her, but then this other big guy came and sat next to me because we were kind of on the edge. Dude, this guy started, and I thought she had it bad. This guy started like falling asleep in the theater, just making all kinds of weird noises. Got up about halfway through the movie and never came back. So I don't know what happened to this guy, but the movie did come out. It came out on September 6th, which was kind of weird. I thought maybe it would have been at home, dropping on October 1st.
Yeah, I don't
riding
know.
out the rest of the October
Halloween,
month.
yeah.
Yeah, so
they even have like a Beetlejuice like event in like LA right now that looked
cool.
pretty cool. Christina showed it to me, and you're like walking through the afterlife place or whatever,
whatever
it
the
is,
fuck that building's
the afterlife DMV or whatever
Yeah.
the hell it is, and it looks like super dope.
Yeah, I would, dude. Actually, that'd be really kind of fun. I wonder if Vegas has something like that we can go check out.
Ooh, we should look into
Something
it.
nice and spooky. But there's positive and negative with this movie, and I'll start with the positive of it. It's doing really well. It's getting, generally speaking, 70s to 80s across the board. It opened fantastic domestically. It opened at $111 million worldwide. It's sitting at 126 out of budget of $100 million. So it's the third best opening movie of 2024. And its preview night, I think it made like $13 million, which is more than the original Beetlejuice ever made in its entire run. So definitely people came and they showed up for it. I'll say this, the marketing for this movie looked great. The trailer looked awesome. I was really super excited about it. It's actually the best opening in September of all time, only behind It, and it beat It 2. So it's doing really well. So I'll speak from the negative aspect of it. I'm in the minority because a lot of people are liking this movie, but I absolutely think this movie was terrible. This movie is dog shit. I don't think you should waste your time on it, but again, this is what I had to think about it. It's slow, it's boring. I think it forces funny way too much. There's points where Beetlejuice is more like a Looney Tune character, and he's kind of like the genie almost. Like every joke he has to like do, like, oh, my guts are about to explode. And then it's so the comedy just doesn't land on this. When you're watching the trailer, you're under the assumption that he's constantly being tracked down by Monica Bellucci's character, and that is what I was hooked into. And then you have Willem Dafoe being this kind of cop. Their two characters are so irrelevant in this story. They serve no purpose. The main chick, Monica Bellucci's character, is in the movie for about 6 minutes. She's in the very beginning. She's not in Act 2 at all. She shows up at the end of the movie. So there is no real threat. Willem Dafoe's character does nothing. You could take him out of this movie and it really would not matter. The story goes nowhere. Eventually it tries to put together these 3 different stories, and the second act gets into this whole thing with Lydia's daughter and this kid that she meets, and it just takes away from any point of Beetlejuice in this movie. The other thing that was hard to watch is you see Lydia come back. All these characters are idiotic. They're stupid. Like, it makes no sense of what they're doing, and I'm like, you're watching and you're like, dude, you can't be that dumb of a character. So, and then it gets into like Lydia's, the mom's, her daughter's husband. That story serves no purpose. So I'm going to try to save you $20 for going out on a date and maybe some popcorn or something. For me, it was not funny. It was boring. Their stories they're all irrelevant. At the end, they do a song that is kind of like a Deo from the first one. It's a bad song. It's funny at parts. It goes on for way too long, and they do something like there's certain parts where he'll just start speaking Spanish, and it was kind of funny at first, but they overplayed that gag. I felt like every joke they had just didn't land. And again, though, I'm in the minority. From everything I've been seeing on a positive side, a lot of people are like the nostalgic was really good and it brought back the feels. I didn't have it. Jenna Ortega, I thought was kind of like overacting. Catherine O'Hara, so at a point, is just really annoying to listen to. And then Winona Ryder as Lydia, you're like, dude, you can't be this stupid. So take it with a grain of salt. If you've seen it or you plan on going to see it, let me know, because me and Sam are watching it. I wanted to walk out of the movie. She said she was ready to walk out in the first 5 minutes. I stayed because I'm like, I gotta ride out the wave. I gotta see, does it get better? And I'm gonna tell you, it does it. For a movie called Beetlejuice, and I thought Michael Keaton was gonna be in it more. He's in it more, I guess, than Beetlejuice 1 that has, 11 minutes of runtime?
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything. All these storylines end flat, abruptly, and is like, there's no point to any of it. So I'm really curious. I'm hoping I'm saving you a trip to the theater. But I'm really curious when you watch it, what your thoughts are, because I know you were more hyped than I was.
I'll probably go see it. I think instead you should go see Alien.
I was just gonna say my biggest regret is I didn't go see Alien only because I was like, oh, Beetlejuice, cool. Maybe I was in the mood for it, so that's what I watched, and it was a huge letdown. If you guys watched it and liked it, let me know. But as far as what I've been playing is Astro Bot, and Astro Bot is a 2024 platform game developed by Team Asabi and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. For the PS5, it's a sequel to Astro's Playroom. It is the third game in the Astro Bot series. The other game was a VR game, so if you don't know...
Playroom, right?
Playroom was the pack-in game, like the tech demo, and then they made a VR... I think it's called Astro Rescue Mission.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's fantastic. It's bright, it's colorful, it's full of music. There's tons of characters. I've already unlocked, like, Leon and Claire. I've unlocked Ryu and Ken. It's pinnacle 3D platforming, because I'm just coming off of Sackboy's Big Adventure, so I was really kind of in the mood for this. Astro Boy is doing fantastic. The concept is your ship is like this PS5, and you bump into an alien, and it rips it apart, and it steals all the parts out, and it sends you to a crash land spot. And then you got to take your little ship, which is a PS5 controller, and you got to travel to these, I think there's 5 little galaxies, and then there's one secret one you can unlock. And you're collecting all your guys, and at the end you beat a boss to get a part back for your ship so you can eventually build it. I'm only on the second galaxy, but just this far into it, I'm absolutely loving it. But I just want to give it a shout out real quick because it's actually doing really well. So I just wanted to read this real quick. Astro Bot is now one of 5 first-party PS5 games that has over 90 or above average critic rating. Astro Bot was released last week to universal critical acclaim, with many hailing it as an easy frontrunner for Game of the Year at the Game Awards in December.
I've been hearing that.
Dude, it's definitely up there. Critics have praised Astro Bot's clever gameplay mechanics, intervening twist of the 3D platforming genre, fun callbacks to classic PlayStation games, and how it makes great use of the PS5 DualSense controller's unique features. Astro Bot isn't only critically acclaimed first-party PS5 game, but is currently the highest-rated first-party PS5 exclusive. Indeed, Astro Bot is one of the highest-rated video games of all time. The incredibly high praise enjoyed by the game means it is now part of an exclusive club that so far only includes 4 other titles. Astro Bot is one of the 5 first-party PS5 games that has earned a 90 or above overall critic rating, according to a review aggregate site OpenCritic. Astro Bot is actually leading the pack with a 95 overall rating. Second place goes to God of War Ragnarok, which has a 93, followed by Demon's Souls Remake at 92, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered at 90. Needless to say, this puts Astro Bot in very good company. And there's people out there that are kind of hating on the fact that it could be Game of the Year, and I was curious of your thoughts on it, because I know people are saying that it's up there, but people are like, oh, it's a baby game, it's a 3D platformer game, it's a short game. It's like, if this game had Mario written on it, nobody would be complaining at all.
That's what I equate it to, is this is like a new mascot.
Yeah.
PlayStation's new mascot could be this Astro Bot, and just make whatever going forward. Why not easily put him in a Mario situation? Because I don't think PlayStation has anything else like that would be like platformer wise. Sure, why not? And I love playing platformers. I don't think they're only for kids.
Yeah,
I love when a new Mario comes out and it's actually good.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I've played all the other Marios, and if Mario was on it, everyone would be like, oh, hands down, best game Nintendo's doing. But the fact that it's Astro Bot, and I like that it's getting recognized, and it's cool to see that it's the best rated PS5 game out so far. So super happy to see it, and yeah, there's no doubt that this thing is going to be on the Game of the Year watch. So with that being said, guys, let's move in to our main story. So make sure, guys, anything you've been watching, anything you've been playing, leave down below and let us know your thoughts. So with that out of the way, our main story, guys, is Star Wars Outlaws has come out. It dropped on August 30th to a lot of mixed reviews and a lot of heavy backlash, especially regarding its early access debacle that happened. Mm-hmm. So I just want to read this real quick for you guys, just to let you know what Star Wars Outlaws is and when it takes place in the Star Wars universe. Star Wars Outlaws is a 2024 action-adventure game developed by Massive Entertainment and published by Ubisoft. Set in the Star Wars universe between the events of The Empire Strikes Back from 1980 and Return of the Jedi 1983, the story follows Kay Vess, a young scoundrel who assembles a team for a massive heist in order to pay off a crime syndicate. The game is played from a third-person perspective, with the player, traversing an open-world environment and engaging in various activities. The development team, supported by Lucasfilm Games and 10 other Ubisoft studios, sought to combine canonical elements of the Star Wars universe with their own ideas, focusing on creating a cinematic and seamless gameplay. So that's kind of the gist of what the game's about, and we're going to dive into kind of the pros and cons. But first, I want to just kind of get into the EA debacle that it had, or the early access kind of conundrum that it was. So generally speaking, when you early access a game, you're going to pre-order a game, which is just going to be giving money to them before anything is given out to you. Usually that means a special edition is required to order, and in this case, it was the Star Wars Gold Edition, which was $110, and the Ultimate Edition, which was $130, which is $40 to $60 more than you'd be paying for the regular edition. Generally, you get added bonuses and all that, skins and packs or whatever.
I think a season pass comes with one of them.
Season pass, yeah. So, but with this one, it gave you 3 days early. So starting on August 27th, you could start playing it. Let me see if I can find exactly what was on this. So Star Wars Outlaws has, as in the case with many AAA games these days, launched with a lot of annoying bugs that make it unpleasant to play. However, as happens less commonly, PS5 players who bought the more expensive Gold and Ultimate Edition of the game so they could play 3 days earlier than everyone else has been asked to delete their save files and start over. A new patch for PS5 was developed soon after early access began, and Ubisoft sent an accompanying email to players to tell them that if they're playing an older version of the game, they will unfortunately face issues and progression blockers. Basically, if you paid more to play the game before everyone else, you'll have to lose all your progress and redo everything you've already done because Ubisoft decided to push an update. And this is one of those things where I don't know if you and I have ever gone off and kind of just sway people from early access, but it's one of those things where it's like, there's no reason why you should be paying for any of this. So you're seeing this, Andrew. I mean, the moment you're paying a premium price now to get early access, and they're telling you, hey, your game is irrelevant now. Your save's going to be gone. Start over. It's like, what was the point? So, I don't know. What do you take away from this?
It's just completely unacceptable that is your fix to the problem. You can't just fix whatever the glitch is. I don't think anyone even knows what it is, actually. Because I've seen a couple people online on Twitter saying
on the back end
that I'm already too far in. I'm just going to go until I get stuck. And they've been notifying. I haven't seen that any of them have beaten it, but so far they're saying I haven't ran into any issues, so I don't know specifically what the issue is because they don't say it. So maybe who knows if that even was the case, and maybe they just were like, just to be safe, let's just tell people to restart, and hopefully they'll just take it like that.
Yeah, I'm curious. Oh, yeah, because the fact that the glitch is going to give you progression blockers. I mean, because that's something you would do with like a beta test kind of thing. Like, oh, we're only going to let you get to here. So it's like, how is that even built into the early access?
I can tell you right now that if there was any game that I put more than like 6 hours into, and it is not like a 10 out of 10 game, and I have to completely restart over, I'm not going to. I'm done. Like, I just won't play it until absolutely later. And what's funny, too, is the only other game I've ever, I think, had an issue with that was another Star Wars game. I went back and played The Force Unleashed 2 on when they brought it to backwards compatible on 360 because I love the first one. I wanted to see it out. I made it to the end and the game crashed, and then when I went to go replay it, my save was gone. Oh. And even though that game's not a long game, I was like, I'm done. Yeah. I just read the story on Wikipedia, and I'll never go back and play it.
Yeah, and it's getting to a point where this is becoming more and more apparent with games that are going to be coming out. They want this early access thing. And I'm not going to say that it might never happen to us. And that's kind of the thing. Like Andrew and I, when we kind of pre-order these things, it's, we don't have a huge podcast, but it's like, we like to get stuff, we like to play it, we like to preview it. But if you're the average Joe and you're buying this thing and you're wasting higher-end dollars on a game, and it's not, because the game's really not that long. You could have potentially beaten it within that 3 days. So the fact that your whole save gets wiped is terrible. Do you have something you want to?
Yeah, I was like, I'll tell you right now too, because they did I think they gave people like a couple like gifts, like coins, I think cosmetics, just little bullshit trinkets. If I had paid to order something 3 days early and the patch didn't come out until the same time as everyone else did, and I didn't beat it, and I had to delete and restart everything, I would want a refund, or at least refund me the difference between the base version and whatever.
Yeah, because actually, now that you said that, I have this pulled up. Yeah, so what they actually got back, it says, our teams identified an issue where some PS5 players were playing on a previous version of the game. We quickly deployed an update and informed affected players to ensure their game was updated to the latest version and advised that they begin a new save to avoid additional issues and progression blockers. We followed up with the affected PS5 players today to inform them that we have provided them with an in-game Trailblazer trinket, which is useless, as well as 100 Ubisoft Connect units to redeem for in-game rewards, for example, to make their return to the Outer Rim a little more special.
There's nothing in that store that's like 100.
100 coins
units.
is nothing.
Yeah,
it's a skin.
The cheapest best thing is like 3.
Yeah, you gave me nothing for $40 and a waste of my time, and that's one of the things we've got to stop. We got to stop doing for these companies that get away with this, because like. I was looking up other examples of what was going on. Starfield was, and this is all fairly recently, Starfield had this too with their early access, where people that were trying to log in, because if you try to go in, if you have it downloaded and you try to play it before it's out, it keeps saying you're too early, come back when it's out. So people that were pre-ordering it and supposed to have the early access, they kept getting that error. So that happened with Starfield. And then Suicide Squad, which you shouldn't have bought that anyway, but Suicide Squad had it on early access that when people logged in, the game was already complete. So then they couldn't play it. It was already beaten. They had to take the game down for 6+ hours one day. So that's already wasting a time that you've already paid for. And then they had to go back and they took it down for a full 24 hours. So imagine playing that game and you thought you had 3 extra days and they already took off a day and a half.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I don't know. At this point, it's just, and I don't know. I don't know, because how do you move forward with it? Because the idea is kind of cool. But we're at this point where if games, because you got to remember, the whole concept of patching and broken games only goes back as far back as the 360 and the PS3 era. Once upon a time, when you bought a game, it was finalized. It was done. Could you imagine launching a game on PS2 that just was completely broken? How many recalls you would have? And it seems like more and more games are letting this slip past. And I understand day one, if you want to buy it day one and you're like, hey, there's bugs. But if you're going to start saying that you have people that can have 72 hours to play it, then this thing needs to be ironed out, because I would want a full refund and I would never buy a Ubisoft game again if that happened to me.
Yeah, I just don't understand how something like that's game progressive breaking got past. You know, you have like testers and stuff like that. How do you not realize, you know, did you have one person play the game and like, all right, cool, he's done. Let's ship it up, guys.
Ship it up and pack it out. So that was kind of the big problem they had coming out the gate. So let's get into kind of our overview of it and our pros and cons about actually the game. But before we dive into that, Andrew, because we will kind of pick it apart, generally speaking, did you like the game overall? Is it something that you would recommend anybody to get? I mean, EA early access aside, because we're past that now. We're 2 weeks into it now, so
I would say, and again, this predicates on the fact that you have to like Star Wars, because if you like Star Wars, it is definitely a game worth playing, because I liked it. I don't know that it is worth it to get it right now with all the other bugs and stuff like that in here. I would say the only way it's worth it, and what I even had my cousin do, and we should have done, but I didn't even realize it, is that you can subscribe to Ubisoft Pro on there and download this, and that only costs you $20, and so this is a free game in their vault. And I don't know if this is the first game they've done that with a day and date title, almost like how like Game Pass does stuff like that, because that, then I could totally live with the rest of the stuff. But, and you and me, we split a game, but if I paid $70 for this, I don't know that I'd feel bummed out, but I wouldn't be too hyped on it, really. What about yourself?
I think they may have done it with Mirage. Yeah, overall hearing it, I think what was being said after, like if you were coming fresh into this and that's what you were hearing, I probably instantly would have stayed away. But now that it's done and the dust is settled and kind of more complimentary things are being said about the game, because it took a lot for me, because I mean Star Wars for me is kind of slowly going downhill.
Yeah,
I was really super nervous about a game that's like, I mean, I have no problem with games that don't feature Jedi and things like that, but I was nervous. I'm like, okay, but can you execute it? And after it's all said and done, I think overall, I like the game. So
I like it. I think maybe I would just wait for them to iron things out, or maybe like a price drop or something.
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, if you're going into, I would definitely wait till Christmas, and this thing will be $40 cheaper, or it will be $20 cheaper. Buy it at the $40 price point, I think, and because it is the definite. I mean, it's a good game. It's but when Andrew and I share price, it's like, oh, it was perfect for $35.
Yeah, or that Ubisoft Premium, yeah, $20. How could you not? But I mean, let's get into what we didn't like.
There's a couple of things I want to get into, story, and then some of the gameplay and the glitches that it had. So I wanted to start with the story. We went into kind of what it was about, but it focuses around these Kay handling these 4 syndicates that you have to deal with and complete missions for, which were the Pikes, the Crimson Dawn, the Hutts, and the Ashingi clan. And I gotta say, what this game did capture, which I was nervous about before, is it feels like you're in Star Wars. Like, it's a good... It's not like...
feels lived in.
It's not Jedi... We just thought of the name. It's
Survivor.
It's not like Survivor where you're kind of bouncing around and you're constantly doing Rebel Alliance kind of things. This was like boots on the ground. I've got to go deal with the Hutts. I've got to go deal with the Crimson Dawn. And these missions kind of point you in multiple different directions. And I thought the story overall had a lot of good twists. I thought the villains that they kind of set up were really cool. I thought the droids that they introduced, ND5, was awesome. I thought Nyx as your side little buddy was really cool. So overall, the story I thought was executed pretty well. And I think, like Andrew was saying, I think you'll love it more if you're ensconced in Star Wars. If you're not, I think you would walk away thinking it's still a pretty good story.
Yeah, or maybe it can fall to mid. It's definitely not bad. But yeah, if you are into Star Wars, I think that is my favorite thing about this. Is the world feels lived in, and I think that's really important to me with a lot of games. I hate playing games where you can just go to these empty places, like even when there's people just like gambling, you're running into random people, even if it's something small, like I'm lending this dude money so that way he can go gamble and he'll pay me back later if he ends up getting the money or not, or just listen to other people's woe stories or doing the little side missions. Even just going through and listening to people talking their stories and stuff like that, it feels like a lived-in world that I had a lot of fun just exploring, like naturally exploring, and not feeling like, oh, the game's guiding me this way. It feels like forced. I'm like, no, here's the main mission, but I'm having fun doing everything else. Like Craig was saying, there are the syndicates that you could do. Before I left each planet, I maxed out the syndicates for the achievements because I wanted to have that done, and I appreciate too that when you're working for the syndicates, not everything is gonna go your way. Maybe you don't agree with something, so then you're gonna hurt your affiliation with the syndicate, or you'll end up double crossing another syndicate, and so now you're hurting their affiliation with them. Like, it just again, it felt like it was really connected.
Yeah. So with that being said, with the story, I kind of wanted to dive in some pros and cons with the gameplay of it, and then some of the problems we had with it.
I would say I got one more thing on the story too. One of my big worries was this timeline. Like, we harp on this all the time. Let's get away from here. I love that when you do run into things that are from the movies and other stuff, it's more like a little reminder, like, oh, hey, like, that's cool, that's right there, versus, hey, don't forget, like, you're right here, you're in this time frame, you're this and that, this is going on right here, whatever. It's like, no, that other stuff isn't really important, obviously, besides the Imperials being everywhere. I mean, obviously, they have to be there, but other than that, everything else, it seems like more like an Easter egg that you're in this timeline with what you're running into. And for once, I am so glad to, and maybe take this as a spoiler or not, is that it's not a game, oh, man, there's so much bad going on, I have to join the rebels now. Like, no, there's people out there that are like, you guys are a big part of the problem. The Imperials are doing whatever, and we're kind of fine with the way things are now, and they're being harsher and executing people or blowing shit up or doing whatever because you're attacking them. So some people look at Imperial or the rebels as the bad guys too. I'm like, good. I hate that it's always just from their skewed point of view.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool too that you bring that up, is when Kay was kind of analyzing it and looking at it, she's like, oh, we could really use a person like you. And she's like, I'm tired of being used.
Me, yes.
You're nothing more than a syndicate with from your point of view, a just point of view. And yeah, it's actually a really cool concept that it's like, oh, this isn't a Rebel versus Empire game. This is somebody that has gone through a really bad time once you kind of learn her story and her past, and just wants to make her own life in this world in a way that's, I'm not a Jedi, I'm not a Rebel.
I don't want to be a hero.
Yeah, I just want to make my score. So I think it really did capitalize on a good outlook on the on the the scoundrel type character, the archetype, and I think they did a good job of executing that, because there was no point where I was just like, at some points you're agreeing with her, you're like, yeah, fuck the rebel. It's like, you guys are causing a lot of damage and control, and I don't want to be a part of this. So it does explore both sides of that.
And she is a likable character too. She reminds me a lot of kind of like Korra from Avatar. Like, very confident, but the second someone calls her bluff, like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I kind of am. I'm not that great, like, whatever. So I really liked her a lot too. So playing as her, because I mean, that would be the worst, is playing through somebody who's just boring as hell. Yeah,
I thought she had a lot of gravitas to her, and the more you learn about her was a lot of fun. So was there anything else on the story you wanted to end?
No, I'm ready for the next part.
Okay, so as far as getting into our pros, we kind of talked about the first one for pros. We'll start with pros. Was there was a lot to explore, and we kind of already touched on that. Like Andrew said, it feels lived in. What was really cool is there's certain points, because you have your land speeder that kind of that you use to travel around, and there's obviously fast points or fast travel that you can do. But there's certain things, like when you land, I forget the planet, the swamp planet, like when you got to upgrade your...
That's the worst planet.
Well, it's the worst, but it was cool that you had, I guess I thought it was cool, where you actually have to upgrade your speed cruiser to, like, get parts to get on the swamp and then to go explore more things. And then it's like, okay, well, the mission takes me here, but there's still 4 more territories out there that I can go explore and check. And I thought that was kind of the cool thing, is when you bump into certain people, they'll send you on missions that are in other planets, because I think is there 4 total planet systems to go to? There's like Tatooine,
I think 5 if you count Kanto.
Okay, yeah, so there's 5 different places to go to. I don't think we mentioned that for the story. So it's actually spread over quite a few little galaxies, and I think it starts off on the casino planet, right? That's
Kanto.
Yeah, Kanto. And I thought it was really cool that the outside of the main storyline, just picking up missions can take you to these other places where normally you might have been like, oh, I don't need to go over there, but you're like, oh wait, I do need to travel over there because I need to go get this part to upgrade this gun.
Yeah, I like that too. Not everything's like readily available, and it shows you if it's something you know where it is. I do kind of like some of the aspects of it. Yeah, for like the upgrades, it'll be like, oh, you need this, so maybe you still intel, or you overhear somebody talking about it at a bar, and it just feels like you're gathering that stuff natural versus like, here you go, I'm just going to mark it for you, this is where it's at.
Yeah, because it was really cool that you could, like, walk up to the bar and you could lean in and listen to people. So it really did have that kind of, like, your ears everywhere, eyes everywhere, and things like that. So the next one I thought was one of the pros was, I like the way they did the ability advancement.
Love it.
There was nothing in there, because one of the things I was thinking that they could compensate people to try to catch them up was maybe give them an experience booster. But the game doesn't rely on experience. I mean, you can set the difficulty that you want. And again, maybe that's something we should have mentioned earlier. Check out the settings, because there's a lot of cool settings you can turn on and off that'll make your gameplay much better. But there's a point when you meet certain characters in the game, and it'll start you off with one, and then you'll meet other people. And what they'll do is they'll need you to, for example, if you want to unlock like the Electro Rod, you've got to like shoot 6 amount of people in a row. You've got to be able to like one of them would be like steal X amount of credits, and then you got to go find a part, and then you unlock the ability, and then you can do things for health, you can do things for back to vials, you can do things for shooting better. There's all kinds of different stuff, and I think there's 9 characters that you can deal with, and I thought that was probably one of the most interesting things, was how you learn more abilities in the game, because it's optional, but it's fun to go do.
Yeah, you can play the game outright, but then as I'm looking at these, I'm like, oh, okay, like normally I just kind of use my blaster, but now one of the things is use weapons off the ground, so now I'm killing people. And one of the things I even liked at the beginning, I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks if I can only use my blaster. But then once you meet the person and you do some of the training, you're like, no, now you have more experience, so you can pick up the weapon that has the shield in front of you, and it's like the minigun or the sniper, the grenade launcher, so you can use these in between everything else too. Then I found myself using that a lot more later on instead of the blaster, is I'm just trying to run past people, get into cover, because there's like a weapon rack, grab a weapon off the rack, and then just try going to town and stuff like that. So I really like the way that you do the abilities. And what's even better about it too, in what I appreciate a lot, is that you don't have to go in the menu every time to just track something. Like, so each person has maybe like 5 or 6 different things they'll do for you. As you're doing it, it'll pop up in the top right for you. Cool. So I really like the UI that'll tell you, like, get this many headshots, that'll say like 5 out of 10 or something like that. So that was really nice.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool system that should be implemented in more things like that.
I like that a lot more than like, an XP or this is it. You're just, I don't know, like Grand Theft Auto. Like, here's some guns, and then maybe you upgrade guns. I like this ability system a lot.
Yeah, because it was really cool, because each person had like 5 different things that you could complete, and it was up to you if you wanted to go do them. Like, one of the things I made sure I went to go do was get the Electro Rod, because when I was running into certain bases, because you can't, so a lot of the gameplay is stealthing around and coming up, and you can knock people out. But you can't do that to droids, right? Because you
can't.
The
big pigs.
Or the big pigs, which are a lot more scarier in the game than they've ever been in the movies. It's like when those big pigs are coming at you, and I forget their names. I feel like a jerk for forgetting them. But when they're swinging their axes, they're pretty formidable. So when you get this, like the Electro Rod, which you've got to get to a certain point in the game, meet the person, and then do what's required to get it. But then you can walk up and you can start knocking them out. So there's a lot of really cool things in there that you should definitely explore, which kind of piggybacks into the next one of going, I liked it. This was a really good stealth game. It's not the best stealth game, and I think it does have some issues. One of my cons was that I think, and I'll kind of cross that off now, is that some of the AI seeing you, I don't agree with. Someone would spot you from miles away, and then everyone's alerted to you, and then there's other times when I'm walking right by people that don't see me. But overall, it was a lot of fun looking at my setup and figuring out which way do you got to go. Because there's and that was the other cool thing. You can come up to like an Imperial base, and there's multiple ways. You can go through the front door if you can get past it. There's usually a way on the right. There's usually a way on the left. You have the right slicing tool. So there's a lot of different options for completing the missions, which I thought was... There was parts where I'm like, dude, I don't want to keep going to this side. This guy keeps seeing me. I'm like, let me check the other side. Oh, there's a vent over here. Let me go through this. So I thought the stealth mechanics of the game, they did really well. And I think if they do make a number 2, which I believe they are, because I think this is doing really well with sales so far. It's like, that is something I think they're going to improve upon.
I think that's something people were kind of... No, I liked it. I was going to say, I think some people were complaining about the stealth, or at least the forced stealth section. I never really had any problem, and I'll throw out a big tip for some of you guys too. What's nice is you can just go in there, guns blazing if you want to. You don't have to use the stealth. There are some parts where it says, don't set off the alarm. But if you destroy the alarm and sabotage it, or have Nix do it for you, then you can go in there guns blazing and then just completely almost like bypass the stealth for that section, which I don't know if a lot of people like realize that, because I'm seeing that online and I'm like, no, there's tons of times where I would disable the alarm, and then if I got caught, I'd just go guns blazing, and then the dude goes over there, oh, there's no alarm, there's nothing to do, so I'm not losing, and then I'll just run past to the next part.
Yeah, well, I think a lot too what people are complaining about with those is there's certain missions that you only have one time to do it. So if you get caught, it's over, which brings me to that con of going, so you've got to play it perfect stealth, which is where the AI, I think, is one of the cons. It's like, you could be doing it, but sometimes they see you from far away, sometimes they don't see you really close, so those missions I can see going, oh, the stealth sucks because I had one shot, and the AI, for some reason, saw me from way over there, and even though I'm next to this guy, and he couldn't see me at all.
My only negative about the stealth, and this doesn't have to be like a hard rated R game, is it just looks a little like weird sometimes. Like, this dude's wearing a helmet, and she'll like punch him in the face with like a bare fist or something like that.
She's got the worst animations ever. She's like, yuck.
And it's just weird, and it's like, of all the things, like, you couldn't give her, like, okay, maybe start you off with a stun gun, and you need to upgrade the stun gun to do the pigs and the droids or whatever. That would make a lot more sense than how it, like, a bare fist punching somebody out who's wearing, like, Stormtrooper outfit or something like that. It's funny, because I got complete whiplash going from this to Mafia 3, because when you play Mafia 3, the dude literally has, like, a knife, and he's, like, jutting it into someone's throat, or like get in their back and like going up the back and then dragging away the dead bodies. They're bleeding everywhere, compared to I'm coming up behind somebody with my pistol and just
Dude, the other thing too was because when she shoots, it goes on a heating scale, and then it'll come down.
Oh, that Gears of War reload. I like that.
It was fine, but I was so used to hitting X to reload. I would be shooting and I would just hit X, and she'd go and she'd just throw a big old fucking right haymaker. But also with stealth, though, I want to add, because we got to shout out Nix, which is her side character that's with her. He is way cooler than I thought he was going to be. Not only does he constantly, you can send him to go fetch things, whether that be coins, items for upgrades, or weapons. He can also steal things. So later on in the game, when you're getting further in like Imperial bases, he can steal cards and things like that. There's a point in the game where you don't have Nix for a little while. You don't realize how much you use him, because he can also attack people. Or, I mean, not attack, he blinds them for a bit.
He'll, like, distract them so that way you can do whatever. Yeah, he blinds them so you can run past.
And then there's points where, because later on in the game, which I thought was actually one of the best parts, you can go to cuisine places on each planet, and every one that you do will unlock an ability for Nyx.
Yeah.
So later on, you can equip him with, like, he'll kick grenades back, he can distract more people. So I want to say a big shout out to Nyx.
I'll kind of piggyback onto that because I do like Nyx, but I do like, when you go do the food, there's a lot of
moments.
There's a lot of different mechanics. So like that one has like a little mini game for it. I like the lock picking, which it's almost like a rhythm based game. So I'm sitting there with the beat in my head. I'm like boop 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 boop, and then trying to get it right. Sabak is like another like little like mini game that you can play with the cards. I got super into that. So there's a lot of. I like that it just doesn't feel like it's like QTE central. Like a lot of the different things you're doing, it feels like there's a rhythm or a point to it, and it felt good to do versus like, oh, here, let me block this punch, so now I can throw my haymaker or something like that.
There's a slicing thing too, and I turned off to just auto do it because I didn't want to do it. Did you ever do the slice like little puzzle game you have to do?
Oh, with the symbols?
Yeah.
Big thing that I did, and I told my cousin
turned
too.
That off.
No, I didn't know you. Oh, I forgot that
you can set it to auto success.
No, because
I wasn't dealing with
for
that.
slicing. I liked it. I thought slicing was fun. So what you do, I was like, I can't read these fucking symbols. I don't know what they are. I switched them to numbers. Once I switched it over to numbers, it clicked for me instantly. It made so much more sense. And so playing it was almost like Wordle. And I love doing that so much more that I'm trying to figure out these number like algorithms to go through. That I guess you could just turn it off. But I feel like I felt like that was kind of fun. And my cousin too is like, dude, I'm struggling with these things with the symbols. I'm like, I did the same thing. Go in there, turn it into numbers, and see if it clicks for you. And as soon as he did, he's like, "Oh, dude, this makes so much more sense." I just couldn't understand that. Like the symbols just aren't clicking for me.
Nice. And the final pro I have, unless you want to add any more, is the combat and the space interaction that you have flying around in your ship.
Space combat's great.
It's not the best in the world, but it was infinitely better than Starfield. I had so much more fun flying around my ship and upgrading it and shooting and things like that. So I did want to give a tip of the hat that they did a really good job. In a game that was kind of supposed to be more boots on the ground, they added a really good space combat system, which, again, it's like looking at Starfield. I mean, I know Starfield's gotten better, but when it came out, I'd argue that this was more fun than Starfield's space travel. So
yeah, I thought it was great. No, it felt good. Like fighting and stuff like that. I actually really enjoyed it. I get a little sick though sometimes too, like when you auto lock onto somebody and they're flying past you, so you're like
that's in a big circle. My equilibrium.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you wanted to say for pros?
I can't think of any.
If anything hits you, let me know.
Yeah.
So as far as cons go, I already said the AI spotting is really spotty. So we've already talked about that. A small con I would say was the weapons. It is cool that she's designated this blaster the whole time, and you can upgrade the blaster. It's got an actual laser hit. It's got a
full auto,
like electrical, and then a power shot. Mm-hmm. And then each of those has two different ways you can build the gun. So it is very, very dynamic. But as far as the other weapons, like Andrew was saying, you can pick up and start using bigger blasters and things like that. What wasn't clear was who dropped what gun, because there's times when you're shooting people and they'll drop something, and there's times when you shoot them and they don't, which is okay. I can get over that. But the other thing I would have liked is if during a mission she could hold on to a heavy weapon, because every time you try to climb on something or you climb up a ladder or you do anything, she'll drop it. So it kind of made you default back to the pistol every time you carried to another level or another section. I wish it would have been cool if you could just pocket one, and then at the end of a mission, maybe it goes away. But I was like, I just got this cool gun, and now I got to climb up a ladder. I'm like, damn it, now it's gone. Now I got to hope to find another one. Small gripe, but I think that'll be something they change in the future.
I didn't look at it that way, and I kind of didn't want to pocket one, because I'm like, I would look ridiculous walking around with this versus
That's what you're mad about? There's games where people just pull swords out of their backs.
I'm supposed to be like Han Solo. Han Solo only needs a pistol. I'm a scoundrel. I don't need these gizmos gadgets.
And again, the gun is really, really diverse in what you can do with it. And then I would say the last con would just be the glitches that it has right now that I'm sure are being patched out. I definitely had a couple, and you could go online and see a bunch of people having issues with it. The biggest one I think you and I both had is one of my saves got messed up. Like, there's a point in the game when you're with the Ashiga clan and you have to go into the tunnel and those two guards let you in. So they let you in, they're like, oh, you're here for blah, blah, blah. You go up there, there's a part I got blown off the fan because I wasn't even looking, and it killed me. And instead of respawning me back in the mission, it spawned me out by my ship, and I had to go all the way back to the gate. And when I went to the gate, they're like, "Oh, no outsiders allowed." I was like, "Well, shit, how do I get in here?" Make sure you're saving your game, because I really wasn't. I was really just using the auto save.
Yeah, no, dude,
I had to go back like a save, which was a mission before, and that was kind of weird. I'm like, that sucks. There was a couple other things I had that aren't really worth going on about, of just certain that were missing. I got stuck in some crates and things like that. Small things that I know will be fixed, but that save, that one that knocked me out of the map, that one was the biggest one, and I was pissed because I had to replay like 45 minutes of the game.
My 3 big ones would be and I tried reloading, but then it kept doing it the rest of the game anyways, no matter what, is if I tried to sell, and took me a while before I realized there's a sell all junk at the bottom that you push Y, so you're selling like your random loot and stuff like that for money. So I'm pushing A on everything, and you hold A to confirm your purchase. My thing would not fill up. I would keep having to push A, and then eventually would sell the item.
That would suck too.
And so that was annoying before I figured out the Y thing, but then eventually when I would do the Y thing, it would also do the same thing where it wouldn't go, so I'm like, fuck, I keep having to push it a few times, but then eventually it would sell everything, and I'm like, dude, that was annoying. My other big one, only because it took me like a little while to figure out, and I even restarted the mission to come back and see if I could do it, is there's like a hut one where you're trying to rescue this guy Haas, who's part of this crew you're trying to get together, and as soon as you start talking to him during this cutscene, the game instantly crashes. It crashes right then and there. And it did the same thing to my cousin, yet he's like, hey, what did you do right here? I'm like, just skip the cutscene, then I had to watch it on YouTube. If I skipped the cutscene, it was perfectly fine. And then my third, and this would be more of like a gripe too for a con, is at the beginning of the game, you get an achievement for just getting all the way negative with one of the groups. I did it with the Pikes. That first area
is Pike Central.
No, none of these guys had fucking Pike contracts. And my cousin had a really hard time because he did the same thing too. Because
I maxed that one out first.
Because when you max out your people, they give you cool outfits and stuff like that. So I went Crimson Dawn because theirs is black and gold. So theirs looked the coolest first. And I fucked over the Pikes badly that it took me forever, dude. I was literally on the verge of being in good with them, that I'm like robbing Imperial stations trying to find the little data disc to sell to hopefully get that over, because there was no contracts. And I even went into like 3 places. I'm like, dude, there's no contracts that give me like enough stuff to get enough reputation to get up there. And I guess going off of that, maybe another gripe, some of these contracts are definitely like the same. It didn't really bug me that much, but it'll definitely get repetitive if you're trying to get like max rep with these people. It doesn't take long, but your mission will be to like deliver something, and I'm doing the exact same thing twice. It's literally in the same box in the city and the same box on the outside of the city, so I'm running from A to B.
Yeah, I've cleared out bases, and then it's like, oh, next mission, that thing's right over there. I'm like, damn it, I was already there, and I already snuck by everybody.
Did you have any other negatives? 'Cause if not, I had one other one.
No, I'm good on mine.
My last one is, the game does look really good for a majority of the part, especially in the cutscenes or when you're out there on planets. They do set up special spots like benches and stuff where you can sit down and just check out the world and stuff like that. I found myself just standing there looking out into space, or just, like that final area, except for that one I hated because you're always looking at the map because it's so confusing.
The map that's confusing. I didn't like the map. I wish I had a straight line.
But your chick outside of that sometimes, it's almost like she wouldn't load in properly or something, ends up looking like Rocky Dennis. Like her chin would literally be like a straight triangle with, or her head would be shaped like Zorak from fucking Space Ghost. Like a triangle faced head. And they do like the in-engine cutscenes where you're talking, but then it switches over to gameplay where she would just look terrible. But then when it switches back over to like normal cutscenes where you're not playing, you're just enjoying whatever, and it looks great, I'm like, man, so some of those you'll get a little whiplash looking at that.
Nice. So guys, that is what we have, our small review, well, I guess as small as it was, on Star Wars Outlaws. Both beat it, both completed it. Again, I think it's a good game, but if you're on the fence about it, I definitely say wait till it's a few bucks cheaper.
Yeah, if you're on the fence,
shillings.
Yeah, if you're on the fence, for sure wait. And again, I think it's really reliant on if you like Star Wars.
Excellent. So guys, leave us down in the comments below what you think of it. So Lastly, we'll move into our final main story, and that is that the PS5 Pro has been confirmed. The leaks and rumors are officially done. Dates and prices are out there, so let me catch you guys up on what's going on with it. And this comes to us from the PlayStation blog, and it says, PS5 Pro fits perfectly within the PS5 family of products and is compatible with the PS5 accessories currently available, including PlayStation VR 2, PlayStation Portal, DualSense Edge, Access Controller, Pulse Elite, and Pulse Explorer. The user interface and network services will also remain the same as PS5. The PS5 Pro console will be available this holiday at manufacturer's suggested retail price of $699 USD, 699 pounds, 799 euros, and 119,000 yen. It will include a 2 terabyte SSD, a DualSense wireless controller, and a copy of Astro's Playroom pre-installed in every PS5 Pro purchase. PS5 Pro is available at a diskless console with the option to purchase the currently available disk drive for PS5 separately, which I believe is at $79.99.
And stand. Does not come with a stand.
And the vertical stand. PS5 Pro will launch on November 7th, 2024, and will be available at participating retailers and directly from PlayStation at direct.playstation.com. Pre-orders will begin on September 26th, 2024. Now, the story is going around everywhere, and everybody is pretty much outraged at the price. So, Andrew, start me off. Everything it has, it's coming out soon. Walk me through your thoughts, sir.
I had like a kind of almost like gut punch at like the price. I'm like, if you have a PS5, why would you upgrade to this? I mean, we'll get, I guess, into the little like 10-minute thing, but I mean, I've seen a lot of people. I wrote down some notes here too. So 2013, the PS4 launched at $399. 2016, the PS4 Pro launched at $399. You drop the price of the base console, the Pro console now becomes the top tier console. PS5 Digital's at $399, the PS5 Pro $799. No disc, no stand, no nothing. And I think what's even worse about this is those discs, because of the rumors of this, were already kind of hard to get. That you're already seeing they're sold out, and there's already scalpers everywhere. I seen a post for it on eBay earlier for $500 for that USB.
Who the fuck wants
for the
it?
disc? So if you are somebody who wants physical media, I thought that was funny too, because someone made a meme. It said for their thing, play has no limits unless you want physical. And so I thought that was pretty funny. But if you're somebody who wants physical games, who's invested in a physical library, it's going to cost you an extra $100. And that was my big thing. I'm like, I can understand paying for a premium console. I guess I get it. I kind of maybe more took this as, I wonder if they're, because this isn't like a necessary purchase, I wonder if I took this as like them maybe treading water. Like, let's just put this out here. It's not like we're in deep shit like kind of Microsoft is right now. And we're treading water with pricing for the PlayStation 6.
Yeah. I look at this as a lot of people are complaining about this price. And it's just like, for me, I don't get why. Because there's two different things. There's mainly the people complaining about the price. Mainly, generally speaking, are people that don't have a PS5. Mainly people that are complaining about this are people that don't have a PlayStation 5. So every time I look at this, like, I'm not going to buy one. It's like, okay, well, this isn't for you. You need to remember, if you don't have a PlayStation 5, go get a basic PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 Pro is built for the diehard player. The player that already has a PS5, loves it, and wants to upgrade theirs. Because, like, if I wanted to go get it, I'm going to trade in my PS5. They're currently sitting, I called earlier at a GameStop, they're trading in for $195. That's $200 off that price. That PS5 Pro just became $500. So it's what a lot of people are complaining about is like, this isn't for you. This is for the people that are the diehard elites. And Sony knows what they're doing with their consoles. Like, yeah, it might come out expensive, but Sony sells consoles. They always have. They're the number one selling console of all time with what they have. And when you look at people that are complaining about it, it's like they're not understanding that this is for people that want to get in. Because one of the things that they're going to do with this is they're going to, like, so right now when you boot up a game, a lot of people, you look at performance and you look at fidelity. This game is going to eliminate that. It's going to run the games at the best possible way you can. If that doesn't interest you, then simply don't buy it and get a PS5. This isn't for the first time buyer of a PS5 Pro. And I don't think a lot of people are looking at it, because every time I see it, they're like, oh, I'm not going to buy one. I'm like, but do you have one? Because if you don't have one, then this is not for you. Does that make sense at all? Or do you see that angle? Or?
Yeah, or even still, there's some people I'm sure had a PS4, could play whatever games they wanted to. Now would be your time to jump in and not get the PS5. I think, and I agree with you, because we're somebody who's in the gaming, so we like to get whatever the next best thing is. This makes more sense than... Xbox has already said that they're not going to have a Pro console, but they have another Series X coming out that's a 2 terabyte that is, I think, that is like $600, which makes no sense, especially when you can get the little upgrade thing, like the memory card. Like, I have one. Like, I don't understand the point of that other console, but I just think what they really didn't do was really show off the power of like what this could do, because they even said like 75% of people, this is their words too, chose performance over fidelity, and this is supposed to eliminate, again, like you said, eliminate having to make that choice. But at the same time, there's still going to be they did say there's still going to be games out there running at 30 FPS 4K. You have to take into consideration that it's not just on them, it's up to the developer and how good they make the game and how good they utilize the power. I just don't think they did a good job showing it, because they're really focusing on like, wow, look at this water shimmering, or look at how good this thing is out in the distance when you're standing here instead of what's immediately in front of you. I don't think that's what was enticing. I think what would have been better is like, here's this game running at this FPS and here it is running together, but show it a lot better, versus they showed it briefly for I think The Last of Us 2, or I think what was a little more egregious was, here's Ratchet and Clank doing it, and they're doing it side by side, and here's Ratchet Clank on the PS5 Pro. I'm like, look how choppy it looks. I'm like, look how choppy it looks. You thought that was a great game to launch whatever, so now you're kind of shit-talking the game that people already bought, purchased, and played, so that almost felt like a backhanded like compliment in a way. So I think, and there's a couple people out there who I guess have gotten a hands-on preview that have said like playing it, like the new Final Fantasy or Rebirth, it's like a night and day difference. I think that would have been more the thing to do, is get people in there, maybe some of these outlets or something like that, and have them send some games or have some footage, at least 2 minutes, not here's 10 seconds of me running, here's 10 seconds of you running, something. Show me some extended gameplay. Show me Ratchet and Clank with a million things blowing up in the distance, not him jumping left to right. Yeah. Show me all the particles going off at once and how it makes the frame rate on that kind of thing, or this doesn't. Or show Final Fantasy VII running together, because I'm sure there maybe was some parts of that game that had a lot going on there.
Oh, no, that game ran, a lot of people say that game ran real kind of sluggish, and yeah, again, one of the things on this would be like the elimination of that, but like, yeah, you didn't show off the power of it.
Yeah, show that off, not look at this steel beam in the background. Look how straight that looks.
Yeah, because again, I'm not advocating that this thing should be that expensive. I'm just saying I get why it's that expensive. I'm not saying this thing should be really coming out at all. And the fact that it is, I think you were saying earlier, so I think this is more of a window gauging of what's going to happen. Because again, this isn't a new system, so it does seem a lot for like a 1.5 system of it.
Right.
But it is going to show what the consoles are going to start being capable of. Because you got to also remember, we don't know how cheap it is to be making these things. I mean, if the Xbox is running at $600, maybe it's eating the cost of the hardware. But
I think they tried doing that on IGN today.
Yeah, these things get more expensive.
They couldn't build a PC at this price for what this could do at that price. And I hate you see the people in the comments like, "We'll just spend $300 more." People are already complaining about spending this. Why would they spend $300 more?
Yeah,
even though you can do more with the PC at that point.
And I understand the argument with the disc drive, but I had to look at just from my point of view. So when I bought my PS5, I ordered the digital version for $399. They ran out of it and they upgraded me to the disc one. Which
I was about to say, didn't you get a deal?
Yeah, which was the $500 one. And I was like, oh, cool. If I've got the disc, if I need it. I look back, I've never put a disc in my PS5. You know, my biggest problem is running out of memory. The PS5 sits at 825 gigabytes with the user only accessing 667. If the PS5 Pro is going to cost a little bit more, it has 2 terabytes.
Did it?
So yes, but it's not going to have a disk drive. For me, and again, if you live in the physical world, and I do, I have physical stuff. I love it. I'm saying it should be eradicated. It's cool that it's a separate piece. But I have a disk drive. I've never used it. What I want is memory. And if they're moving in the direction of going, let's sacrifice what nobody used and statistically proven, disc becomes lower and lower and lower, but digital becomes the new thing. Well, guess what digital needs constantly? Memory.
I think that's what that new Series X even was too. It's a diskless.
It's a 2 terabyte at $600. This one's 2 terabyte at $699. But it's like, I'll take that sacrifice all day. And if you really need the disc, it's $80. But so from my point of view, I'm like, I think they're sacrificing what eventually will be sacrificed on everything. So again, I don't think the PS5 Pro price point, it's a lot, but I don't think it doesn't need to be getting all this like bashing and hating on it. It's like, if that's not right for you, simply don't buy it. And if you don't have a PS5, go get the one that's going to be $450 in 3 months.
Yeah, I'll say this makes more sense to me than that diskless Series X console does.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the like extreme hate that it's getting, but I could understand if you're like, you know what, it's not for me. Maybe it's too pricey or whatever. Having a casual conversation, sure, I could understand that.
Sure.
But saying this makes no sense and won't roll, blah 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 blah, then no. But I do think Sony does have to take some fault on the chin though for not making those. If you want the disc drive, making that the fact that there's a shortage and now it's another scalper's market.
I see one right now for Walmart available.
I was looking at it earlier and they said unless they've restocked, they were sold out earlier when I was looking at like noon.
Yeah, Walmart's the only one though. Everything else is out. So.
But I will say the biggest negative to come out of this too, no Concord upgrade. So you will not be playing that at 60 FPS 4K.
Concord is a con-turd. So, guys, I know we went long on this episode and we had a lot to talk about. So leave down in the comments, guys, what you thought of Star Wars Outlaws if you plan on getting it, and let us know if you think the price for the new PS5 Pro is egregious or if it looks, I guess, about right. So, guys, that is the end of episode 203. Join us next time for episode 204. Until next time, guys, my name is Craig Perales. This is Mandrew Montemayor. Cheers.
See you guys out there.